Back to the Aquapod and what is our first episode of the new year. I'm your host Charlie, and this year we're excited to bring even more aquatic stories and content to you. Our first episode of 2025 is with Vicki Tomlinson, a leader in the Scottish diving community, Diving Co-Ordinator at Edinburgh Leisure, and the only GB judge at the Paris Olympics for diving. I chat to her about her journey into coaching and judging, her stories about judging in the international stage, and her experience in Paris. We hope you enjoy the episode. I'm delighted to be joined on the Aquapod by Vicki Tomlinson, who's a diving coordinator at Edinburgh Leisure, diving coach as well, former diver, and now is a World Aquatics accredited dive judge as well. How are you doing, Vicki?
I'm very well, Charlie. Thank you. Just recovering from our national championships. Great success, so all good. Yeah.
Yeah, since you mentioned that, I was there and it was really really good. It's always a great competition. How did it kind of go from your end as the chief referee as well?
It was a really nice event. I mean, we had competitors from the USA, from the Netherlands, and a couple of clubs down from England as well. So, yeah, overall, it was a really, really good event. And the judging standard was great. We had 7 Olympic judges who came over for this particular event. So, it was a really high quality event.
Yeah, I know there was one of the American coaches had said that the standard was really high because the scores were slightly lower. So I guess it's always a good thing from that perspective, isn't it? That you get that kind of feedback because it seems bad, but it's actually a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. And I think the Americans as well have got a bit of a reputation for giving out those high scores. So yeah, when we meet in the middle, it's always interesting.
Brilliant. I guess maybe we can start from the start with you. I know you were a diver for many years before going into coaching, but how did you kind of get into diving? What was the sort of process for you and then your kind of own journey through that?
I've been involved in diving now for around about 32 years, which seems a really
Wow.
long time. and it's quite interesting because I started diving because I was not that good at swimming. Um, I used to go to lessons at a little club outside of Leeds, and you do your badges like your 10 meters, your 25 meters, 50 meters, etc. And then it got to the set of badges. I think it was at the time bronze, silver, gold, and I just couldn't pass the final badge. And I remember my mum saying to me, "If you don't pass this badge on the next attempt, you can start diving lessons." And actually, I think it must have been fate because it must have been meant to be for me, and I did start
Yeah.
diving lessons, and then it all kind of happened from there, and that was back in 1992 ish, so a long time ago now.
Well, that's so fate kind of just aligned itself to for that to happen then, I guess. And
Definitely.
then you obviously being from down in Leeds, I guess you competed there then and before coming up to Edinburgh kind of a little bit later on.
Yeah, I was diving in Leeds for about 10 years, and then decided I would like to come up to Edinburgh University to study sports science. And because I had a Scottish parent, I would come up and do Scottish nationals. And we also went on a couple of international trips, Barcelona, Finland, South Africa. And I just really enjoyed being in Scotland and training with the Scottish team. And for me, it was something I always wanted to do.
Hmm. And eventually it would become home for you then, a kind of permanent home. And how did that turn into coaching? I know obviously it's probably more common in diving actually, isn't it, that athletes become coaches just because it's a slightly smaller community and you maybe need more coaches to be able to kind of keep it going. What kind of first interested you about coaching and what got you involved in the first place?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something I've always wanted to do since I kind of started university. And I got to that stage where I'd reached kind of my peak and as far as I was going to go in diving. So I kind of looked at other routes to stay in the sport because I really
Hmm.
love the sport and I always will. And coaching seemed the kind of appropriate route at that time. And I've done it ever since, on and off. But yeah, I've always kind of been involved with Edinburgh Diving Club since around about 2002, coaching all different levels from beginners through to, I guess, Commonwealth Games athletes along the way.
Yeah, you've obviously kind of been in the sport and in Edinburgh from the growth of diving in Scotland, really, and over the past kind of 10-15 years, it's really kind of picked up. You mentioned Commonwealth divers like Grace Reid, for example, being that first one to really kind of step that level up as well. Are you kind of proud of being part of that as well? And I know you've coached Grace and coached James as well.
Definitely, yeah. I guess I've been here so long, I've kind of had some kind of involvement with everybody in the past, at every single level. And yeah, definitely proud of what we've achieved. And I think last Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, we had, I think it was a team of 7, which is the Scottish record, I think, for divers in the Commonwealth Games. So really proud of that.
Yeah, there was loads, wasn't there? And obviously it's really unfortunate that it's not going to be in the next Commonwealth Games, but hopefully in 2030 it would be, wouldn't it, the games after that we might see diving back in. But it was definitely a positive in Birmingham, wasn't it? And great to see so many divers. But I think all of them, apart from Cameron Gamage, had been at Edinburgh at some point in their journey, so that was really positive to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a real success, and we came away with a gold medal from Grace and James in the mixed synchro, which is quite a new event. I know they really enjoy that event, so hopefully we'll get to do it a bit more in the future.
And I guess like you've had those coaching experiences and been involved in the program for a long time, but what is your role at the minute, and how does that work in terms of the overall program and kind of the development aspect of getting young divers into the sport and progressing through those levels as well?
Yeah, so in Edinburgh, I work at kind of all levels across the program. I focus mainly on the Learn to Dive program. So working with the young divers who have come from perhaps swimming lessons or gymnastic lessons and want to learn to dive. I also look after the team of coaches as well, and do a lot of work with coach education and ensure that the coaches are fully qualified.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you say, you're obviously involved in so much, and the Learn to Dive is a really cool program as well, isn't it? And I was speaking at the Nationals to a lady who's in her 60s and had only just started diving in the kind of past couple of years, but was really enjoying it, and it kind of was a different type of sport that she could try, but really kind of get involved in. Is it cool to see that aspect of the program as well?
Absolutely, like diving's for everybody, whether you're 5 years old just starting school or whether you want to come and join the masters program. We've got one of the biggest masters programs in the whole of UK, and we're really proud of that. The masters, they travel around the world, so it really is for everybody.
And as well as kind of your coaching and stuff, one of the reasons I wanted to speak to you was your judging, and obviously you mentioned that earlier in a kind of national context, but you're now a World Aquatics level judge, been at a number of kind of competitions, international competitions. How did your kind of judging journey start off, in that kind of volunteering aspect of of being a judge and things like that?
Yeah, it's something that I've always done as a volunteer, and I've kind of judged at pretty much every level around Great Britain, just because I enjoy it. Whether it's a novice event or whether it's an age group event or a national event. And it was back in 2018, I was given the opportunity to do my FINA judging school over in Sweden, which I did, and I passed, and had a great time. I didn't really know where it was going to take me at the time, but I was lucky to get a few international events in 2018, 2019, which kind of set me off, to where I am now in my judging career. So I've been lucky.
How did that opportunity come about then in the first place for you to do that and go to the judging school?
I was quite involved here in the UK, both down in England and in Scotland, and I would judge all of the national events. So national age groups, junior elites, and the senior events. And sometimes we have like a World Aquatics, or they used to be called like a FINA technical delegate, and they would come over and they would observe us to check that we're kind of on track and giving the right score or thereabouts. And I would get my evaluation at the end of the competitions, and they were always pretty good. And the manager at the time, Kim White, he came up to me and said, your scores are quite good, and we'd like to put you through British Diving, we'd like to put you through your judging school. And I was really delighted because it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it all kind of
fell into place at the right time.
Yeah.
The kind of scoring side of diving is really interesting, isn't it? And it's something that maybe people that aren't as heavily involved in the sport might struggle to understand. So you're talking about like how your scores can be good or not. Do you want to maybe just explain how that can be the case and how you're able to keep scoring so consistent as well between 5 judges or 7 judges, however many there are?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we score on a scale of 1 to 10. You've probably seen the judges holding up their scorecards. But like you say, there's either 5 or 7 judges, or in synchro, 9 or 11 judges. And in general, we work as a team, so we're all kind of aiming to get the same score or thereabouts. And then if there is, a time where you see something different, or you're sat at a different angle and you see the dive differently, and you put your score in and it's a little bit out, then you kind of expect your teammates to make up for that. So that is the aim, to work as a team with the other judges to put the right score in.
And obviously the kind of top and bottom come off as well, don't they? So you should end up with quite a consistent score anyway.
Definitely, it's almost a foolproof system. It's very consistent, and it does work.
I wonder if you want to maybe talk about some of the international experiences you had, maybe the kind of first couple of trips that you went on, and what did you find that challenging? Was there anything difficult, or was it really quite a kind of seamless transition from Scottish and British events?
Yeah, I mean, judging's the same whether you're judging the Olympic Games or whether you're judging the Scottish Nationals. But I guess sometimes it can feel a little bit different depending on where you are around the world. My first judging event was at a competition in Germany, in Rostock, and it was a Grand Prix event, so senior divers in general. And I was quite nervous because it was my first kind of proper experience as an international judge, but I finished the event and it went absolutely fine. And that's when I kind of realized it's exactly the same, and you just sit in the chair and you just do your thing, kind of what you've been trained to do. And then later on that year, I went to the Junior Europeans, which were in Helsinki in Finland. And again, it was very similar to judging a junior elite level in Great Britain. You just sit in the chair and you do what you're trained to do. And for me, it was a really enjoyable experience.
Has there ever been any, not issues, but has there ever been any kind of challenging situations that you've had to deal with in your position, or is it generally pretty plain sailing? I know I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but there was an example at the Paris Olympics where one of the divers had appealed on the board because they heard a noise or something. Does that happen often?
Things do happen, yeah, occasionally. I guess you have to expect the unexpected. And 99% of the time, you'll just sit there and you put your score in. But occasionally, sometimes the unexpected does happen. Like you'll see a diver that's maybe too close to the board, or a diver will fall off the board, or something like that. Luckily, it doesn't happen too often, but you've got to be kind of on your toes and ready for it.
Yeah, be prepared for anything and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah.
You obviously had the accolade of being the only GB judge at the Paris Olympics. What was that kind of like, and how proud a moment was that for you to kind of represent GB at the Olympic Games, which is obviously the pinnacle of pretty much every sport, and certainly diving?
Yeah, I was absolutely delighted. It was something that I'd kind of always dreamt of since 2018 when I did my judging school. And obviously there's only one spot, and there's only actually 10 or so spots in Europe, so it was quite hard to get there. But for me, it was a dream come true, and I really enjoyed the build up as well to Paris. I got to do my first World Championships in 2023 in Japan, and then from that got selected for my second World Championships in Doha earlier this year, and then after that found out that I'd been selected for Paris. And I was a little bit nervous in the build up, but for me, I just made a conscious effort to enjoy everything.
Yeah, I guess it's the same with all these things, isn't it? What you're nervous before, but once you get into it, you're comfortable, and you've done it hundreds of times,
exactly.
So you feel better about it. But what was the kind of process then like? So you mentioned being at the past 2 World Championships. Was it a case of you need to show that you can perform at that level, and then that helps you move your application forward, or is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, definitely. So World Championships, you're judging the best divers in the world, and obviously you're sat in the chair, and there is that element of kind of adrenaline and feeling a little bit nervous. So you do have to perform under that environment. And as I mentioned earlier, the technical diving committee, they're kind of a team of very experienced diving professionals from around the world. They give us advice and look after us when we're at these competitions, and they'll also evaluate us. So at the end of the competition, we'll get an evaluation, and I guess they'll pick the top judges for the next event, and so on. And for the Olympics, we had, I think there was 24 judges from around the world, and it was either 10 or 11 that came from Europe. So you just got to try and do your best to be in that.
Yeah, so you're being judged as you're kind of judging athletes as well. It's quite an interesting sort of
we've been judged as
position to be in. Yeah, I guess it's really amazing. And how did you find Paris as an experience? You said you were trying to enjoy it. Did you manage to enjoy it? And was there kind of any moments that stood out for you as well?
Yeah, I totally enjoyed it. It was kind of like the end to a brilliant year. I was there with all my friends. Like, the judging community is quite a close community. I've made a lot of friends from around the world. So just being, in a hotel with all my friends for 2 weeks was incredible. We could go out and do things and watch the events, and also do what I love to do, which is judge diving. And I think what made it really special as well was that the British team had their most successful Olympics they've ever had. We medalled in all of the synchro events. So to sit and watch that was just incredible.
Yeah, certainly a memorable Games for diving, wasn't it? From a GB perspective, and Edinburgh was really well represented as well, wasn't it? With Jen, with yourself, with Yona, and obviously Grace, who used to train up in Edinburgh as well. So really good to kind of have that representation at that level, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. And I do feel like these competitions, you're sharing the experience with all your friends, and that's what makes it so special, I think.
Do you think diving's quite unique in that aspect as well? It is such a tight-knit community, and because it is quite a small sport, even though, you're saying that it's people from around the world, you know them so well, don't you? And people know each other's faces, and it is just that kind of uniqueness, isn't it?
Definitely, everyone knows everyone. And I mentioned earlier about us being a team when we're judging, and that really comes across at these events. And we're in this big team of 24 people, and they're so supportive. And the technical diving committee as well are there to give us advice, and it's just a really great community kind of feel.
And what are you kind of hoping comes next for you then in your kind of judging journey, I guess, or career? What's the kind of next goals? Are you wanting to kind of keep being at this level, or are you quite happy with what you've managed to achieve so far?
I'm very happy with what I've achieved. I never, back in the day, never thought it would be possible to get this far. So my goal for the future is just to enjoy whatever I do. And I love judging, and whether I'm judging Scottish nationals or whether I'm judging Paris or LA or whatever in the future, my aim is to enjoy it and to do the best job I possibly can. and that's my goal, I guess.
Awesome. That's a really good way of looking at it, actually. And yeah, it doesn't matter, does it, what level it's at? It's just about enjoying what you're doing. So
Totally.
that's fab. Just before we kind of wrap up, I wonder if you would maybe have any thoughts or advice on anyone that's interested in volunteering within diving, whether that's front of house, whether it's judging, whatever it is for, and also people within and out with the sport as well. What would kind of your advice be, and where to start off with that?
Oh, there's so many opportunities, and I think you can get involved in diving and make friends for life. So my advice is to get yourself involved, to find your local club, whether it's Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Dundee or Ayr. Just get in touch with your local club and find out the opportunities, because there's endless possibilities.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vicki, for your time. I really appreciate that, and yeah, best of luck for whatever comes.
Thank you very much, Charlie.
Great to hear from Vicki there, and if you are interested in volunteering within diving or any other aquatic sport, please access the Volunteer Hub on the Scottish Women website. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you prefer to listen on YouTube, please leave us a like and a comment. Until next time, thank you very much.